Hey everyone, and welcome back to In My Compliance Era. My name is Bridget, and I will be your host for this episode. And today we're going to be discussing the origin of contraception, particularly the pill and oral contraception, as well as the makeup of the pill, how it's changed, and discussing the symptoms that may come along with the makeup and the hormones that you're taking. So if any of this interests you, I hope that you keep listening and following along on this episode. But to kind of just dive right into it, I want to rewind a little bit, way back to how did we get here, kind of a throwback. And if you're into medicine, or if you're in nursing school, or if you're just into women's health in general, you've probably heard of Margaret Sanger. She was an amazing woman with such an impressive story, and she was an American birth control activist, a sex educator, a writer, a nurse, and in the middle of the 20th century, she challenged this kind of age-old quest for safe and effective oral contraception. And Sanger made it happen. And this was in 1879 to 1966 that this happened. She is the founder of the American Birth Control League, and she's actually the forerunner of Planned Parenthood Federation of America, which is still used by 2.13 million patients annually today. So, excuse my French, but she's basically a badass. And honestly, I can make an entire podcast episode on all the ways that she's changed people's lives with her work. But moving forward with the things I want to talk about with this episode, to kind of put you in perspective of how long oral birth control, or maybe you know it as the pill, has been around since its FDA approval on June 23rd, 1960. So it's been 64 years since the very first one came out, and it was called In Void. And in just 5 years, 1 out of every 4 married women in America under the age of 45 had used the pill. So quite a few, which is pretty impressive. And by 1967, nearly 13 million women in the world were using it. And by 1984, that number would reach 50 to 80 million. And it really just skyrocketed in its use because women now had a simple, safe, and effective means of achieving reproductive freedom, which is so important. And it reduced the risk of unintended pregnancy during the sexual revolution of the 60s. And it helped to establish family planning as the cultural norm for the US and in many other countries actually as well. And this was a breakthrough in our society where women finally had more autonomy over their bodies. It was a huge step in a direction to normalize sex in our society and to have women gain more options, have more of a say and more control. And having sex at this point does not necessarily mean pregnancy risk, and sex is seen more as for pleasure than strictly to have children, which was huge. And I feel like at this point in time, there was a huge stigma. It was very taboo to talk about sex. And I kind of feel like that's still a thing in today's society, but it's getting better. And that's also a big reason that I'm talking about this on this podcast, because I want to make sure that women feel like it's okay to talk about this, that just because you're talking about with your parents that you want to go on contraceptives, maybe for protection for sex, or maybe it's for other things, that it shouldn't have this like taboo behind it that like, oh my God, like they're having sex and blah, 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 blah. Like I want people to be able to talk about it and to have this conversation. But anyways, what I actually found really interesting was that the first pill was not marketed to the public as a quote unquote contraceptive. And my idea is probably because of the stigma that I was talking about. But instead, the FDA approved the use of the pill to, quote, regulate menstruation. And women were seemingly using this to regulate their periods, but were also enjoying its contraceptive side effects. So each package had a warning on it that addressed its contraceptive tendencies. And like I said, I'm not sure if this was a loophole to allow contraceptives in the market to be FDA approved, since sex was so taboo at the time. And even though women now have this amazing new option and have more control over their sex life, their marital life, and their personal life, if they wanted to go further their education or go to college instead of having children, like this was possible because they had the pill to protect them. And that's amazing in itself. But this version of the pill was not let off without a hitch. In terms of the hormonal makeup of this pill, the original version of the pill contained 10,000 micrograms of progestin and 150 micrograms of estrogen. These numbers probably mean nothing to you as a listener, so to put you in perspective, today's lower dose pills are more likely to contain 50 to 150 micrograms of progestin and 20 to 50 micrograms of estrogen. So honestly, these women probably could have taken one pill and that was it for the week. Like, they could have been protected for the entire week. That's how much hormones that they were on, which is insane. And long story short, Envoid had a lot more hormones in it than needed to prevent pregnancy at the time. So before this decrease that we see in the pills today, women were at such a high risk for severe complications, including heart attacks, stroke, and it took scientists about a decade actually to realize that these complications were directly related to the pill. About 17% of women who participated in that very first clinical trial for Envoid had complaints of dizziness, nausea, as well as headaches and vomiting. And in fact, 25 of them actually withdrew from the pill's original trials because the medication made them so uncomfortable. And among the millions of women using the pill worldwide, there was issues with nausea, breast tenderness, water retention, and weight gain. So a lot of very similar things that happen with the pill today, but to a much greater extent. And the pill at this time was great for a lot of reasons, but it definitely still had a lot of side effects that it needed to work through. And thankfully, we've definitely had some improvements since then, 64 years later, and the pill is still winning America's popularity contest for the most common reversible method of contraception. And I know personally, I can think of at least 6 or 7 of my close friends that are currently on the pill, and that is not including myself, actually. And in terms of how well the pill works, its effectiveness when used as directed, 3 out of 1,000 women will become pregnant in the first year of use, and about 9 of 100 less consistent users will become pregnant in the first year of use. So it's really important to take it as prescribed and know what your pill's policy is if you miss a pill and all that good stuff. So that is definitely taken into account as well. And although the side effects and their severity have greatly decreased with the dosage of hormones in each pill, women still do experience side effects. And some of those include breast tenderness, headaches, irregular bleeding, nausea. Those are all pretty common, and these are all only supposed to last for about 3 months when you're starting the pill. And some women also experience changes in their sex drive, and some of these symptoms may sound like small potatoes in comparison to some of the other associated risks, although rare, like DVTs, getting clots and things like that. Those are very rare, but they do happen. It kind of sounds like one of those commercials that are like,
call your doctor if you have high fever, stiff muscles, and confusion to address a possible life-threatening condition, or if you have uncontrollable muscle movements, as these could become permanent. High blood sugar has been reported with Abilify and medicines like it. In some cases, extreme high blood sugar can lead to coma or death. Other risks...
That's just some silly Abilify commercial that's an antidepressant. And I just felt like, I remember watching that commercial on the TV and being like, oh my God, I feel like there are way more side effects than it being helpful for what it's actually meant for. So that's just a little silly example. But in all seriousness, some of the more serious conditions that can occur are blood clots, heart attack, stroke, increased blood pressure, liver tumors, gallstones, and even jaundice. And like I said, although those are very rare, it can still definitely happen. And I feel like that's something that women should know about before they take any sort of medication that you're going to take every single day. You should know what the serious side effects and what you could possibly experience while on this pill. Get the full picture, right? And kind of going back to the more minute, quote unquote minute, I guess, symptoms. What if some of these symptoms, such as nausea and fatigue, mood swings, don't go away after 3 months of me taking the pill? And something that I wish I had more knowledge on before starting my journey that I kind of want to tell you guys about so that you can have that knowledge is birth control should never make you feel sick or uncomfortable. And these words are right on the Planned Parenthood website. If you're taking your birth control and you stick it out for 2 to 3 months and it is not working for you, please have a talk with your nurse practitioner, your PCP, your doctor, anything, some people have to try a few different kinds of birth control pills before finding their right fit. And I'm going to be talking about Planned Parenthood a lot throughout this podcast, but it truly is a wonderful resource. And if you are ever having questions about your birth control, and it doesn't have to be just about the pill or oral contraception, they have a plethora of information regarding all different kinds of contraceptives, such as the implant, IUD, birth control shots, the vaginal ring, the patch, diaphragm, and just so many more. So if you try out the pill and you find out that this is not the way to go for you, that's okay. And I remember looking at this study called Oral Contraceptives and Quality of Life, and it stated adherence to oral contraceptive pills is notoriously poor, leading to a typical use failure rate of 9% in the first year. The authors of this study speculated that adherence issues also could have been related to side effects of oral contraceptives, leading to this decrease of general well-being in women. And knowing this, I feel that it's super important for women to know their options, because maybe the first pill or the first contraceptive that you tried didn't work out for you, and that's okay. That's why there's so many different options for you. But I just want to make sure that you guys know how many options and are able to make an educated decision on different ways that you can go about getting your birth control, and that you don't have to stick with something that is not sitting right with you, and that's okay. And again, you don't have to tolerate birth control that is making you not feel like yourself or not happy, or maybe you're gaining more weight than you had hoped, or you're exhausted and you're having trouble doing things that you used to enjoy. There are so many options out there, and that was definitely something that women should know their resources for. Because I know at least, and we're going to meet some of my friends later too that kind of talk about their experiences as well. But at least for me, I just remember being very, very sad and like just randomly having periods that I was super angry, and then like I was like crying one day, and I'm just like, my emotions were super labeled. They never were on a consistent path, and I couldn't predict what my next move was. I was like, this is so weird. This is so not like me. What are my other options? Like I talked to my doctor, and he prescribed me a different pill, and it was a different hormonal makeup, and it really worked for me. But let's say that I didn't like the pill, or I couldn't tolerate certain hormones, that maybe the depot shots would work for me, or maybe I should try the NuvaRing. Maybe that would do really well with me. So there are so many options that don't necessarily have to be the pill, but I just want to make sure that people never feel like they have to stop taking something because they feel like they're trapped in a corner, that, oh my God, I can't do this. Like I don't do well with progestin, so I'm just going to stop taking this entirely, which is totally also an option. But I also want to make sure that we know all of the information that we need to in order to make an educated decision about this. And there are plenty of options out there. So Planned Parenthood, again, going back to them, lets you know which of these many options are best at preventing pregnancy, which ones are easiest to use, which ones help with periods, whether, like, depending on what you want your contraceptive for, whether it's actually for preventing pregnancy, or maybe it's for acne, maybe it's for your cramps. It helps tell you what pill and what contraceptive works for those specifically to find what will work for you, which is great. And so based on your goal of why you're taking the birth control, Planned Parenthood can help match you with a birth control that is a right fit for you. And the website I'm going to link in the description below. So if you ever have any questions or you want to use this information, it'll be right in the description. So it also is super easy to make an appointment on their website to discuss these options with like a medical professional. And even if you don't have time in your busy week to make it to Planned Parenthood in person, they have the option to make a telehealth appointment as well. I also found out on their website that they have this app called Spot On that you can download in your app store of your phone. It can help track your mood, your activities, what your periods are like when they happened, your birth control, and it can give you a fertility calendar. It can give you period predictions, and it can give you discrete reminders and check-ins as well. So notifications that will kind of pop up and say, hey, like, did you take your pill? Or this is your ovulation week, and things like that. It also allows us to check in on ourselves more frequently instead of kind of just like passively going through the motions of day to day. So you can kind of look back at the month and say, wow, like I was actually really happy this week. This is a really good week for me, or this month was a really good month for me. Or you could look back and say, wow, like I was really, really sad this week and really angry this week. And why am I feeling like this? I wasn't like that before I started this, or I was much better when I stopped taking this. So it can kind of give you a better visualization of how you're doing, of what you're taking and all that good stuff. That's just something to think about. But all in all, Planned Parenthood is a wonderful resource, and my content expert, Kelly Palm, actually used to work there, and she gave me great insight about what it was like working there and how things work. Super quick summary on Kelly. She is a wonderful nurse practitioner, and she actually works on my campus at Westfield State. She works in health services, and we are very lucky to have someone like her to provide completely unbiased care, especially with the way she advocates for each of her patients. She is very educated and very passionate about women's health and is a perfect fit to be a content expert for this episode. So her and I sat down the other day and we just had a conversation about things that she's done for Planned Parenthood and what she used to do there, and also the things that she does at Westfield State and health services, and how she advocates for her patients there and the different resources that they have. So I kind of just want to dive into that as well. And in terms of Planned Parenthood, she said that she had a very diverse population, and both age and gender. And she was saying that more men were actually coming in than she had expected, especially after they started offering gender-affirming therapy as well as HIV care. And a lot of minors actually came into Planned Parenthood because you don't need parental consent to get birth control at Planned Parenthood, which is great because it kind of decreases this barrier of maybe I don't want to talk to my parents about this because they don't really agree with me having sex, or I don't want to have sex, but maybe they think of oral contraceptive as only being for sex and maybe not for acne or for cramps. They think maybe I'm fibbing and that I am seeing someone or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there could be a plethora of reasons. It's not just that. Maybe they genuinely just don't want to have that conversation with their parents, and that's fine. They can totally do that. And they actually have robust funding sources for people who don't want to use their insurance. So if you didn't want your parents to know and you didn't want to use their insurance, you don't have to. And they actually have a sliding scale. So depending on what you make per year will depend on how much money that you have to pay for the appointment. So if you have zero income, you pay $0. And Kelly was saying that they sold pills for $5 a pack when she worked there, and you could get monthly pills there, and you could get 3 at a time, so it would be $15 for 3 months. What she did say, though, was that they don't have a ton of different pill options. But for the options that they do have, you could go in and get prescribed your pill that same day, which is great. And in the same breath, they're breaking this financial barrier of people that maybe can't afford to pay $35 a pack for your birth control. And birth control should be accessible to everyone, no matter your income. So your financial situation should not be a reason to not get birth control. So please look at the Planned Parenthood website and make an appointment. If you ever felt like you weren't able to afford your birth control, they can really help you out. But let's say that the pill was not it for you. You kept missing it. You were really, really worried about it because you felt like you were unprotected, or you genuinely just didn't do well with it. That's okay. Planned Parenthood actually puts in long-acting reversible birth control. So like the Nexplanon or an IUD. And they do say that the most common issue with the Nexplanon, at least what Kelly was saying that she has seen, is it's pretty well known for its bleeding profile. But what she does ask, and this is what I remember being told as well, that people should try and stay with it for about 6 months because, one, they are expensive and they are long-acting. But she said to me that she has taken them out within 2 weeks of putting them in. So it is important to listen to your body and listen to yourself and know when things aren't working. And genuinely, it's okay. Just because you had something put in doesn't mean that you have to stick with it. And what she was saying is that she always makes sure that her patients, that if they do get a long-acting birth control, and with the pill in general as well, that it's really important to know what side effects that you may encounter, because that can also be a factor in your pill compliance. Because if somebody is taking something and they didn't know that they were going to have potential nausea or potential weight gain, or maybe I'm going to be a little moody for the first couple weeks and then it should subside. If they don't know that, they might get kind of spooked, right? And you might just stop taking it because you're like, what the heck? Like, is this supposed to be happening? This is really weird. I don't feel like myself and all that good stuff. So it's really good to be aware of things and to know that maybe there is a timeline that I should stop feeling like that. So that's always good to know. And I really like that she said that, because patient education is huge when it comes to taking medications, no matter what medication it is. And let's say that you do have some side effects. She was saying that there are some ways to get around certain things. Like if you have a little bit of nausea when you're taking your pill, then maybe try taking it at night before you go to bed, because maybe you'll just kind of sleep through whatever you would feel during the day. Or taking it with food, because that might actually settle your stomach a little bit. So just little tips and tricks here and there. And she was also saying that whenever she did prescribe anything, she was always considering medical conditions that they may have as well, and just safety stuff like increase of blood clots and things that, again, don't usually happen but very well can. So it's really good to be educated on that and to know what you're taking and things that can happen and to what to look out for. And I'm going to get off my soapbox about Planned Parenthood in a second, but I just wanted to say that they really are an amazing resource. And it doesn't just stop at reproductive health. They offer mental health services, and they do vaccines, and they do wellness and preventative care. And Kelly was actually saying that they had patients that started off going to Planned Parenthood as an 18-year-old and are adults in their 30s to 40s that are still going to Planned Parenthood because the care was just that good, which is amazing to hear. But kind of switching gears here, I just kind of wanted to talk about another experience that I had that kind of actually validated the reason that I'm doing this project. And I'm a nursing student currently. I'm a senior. And I just had my maternity course last semester, and we discussed the differences in contraceptives in class. And Kelly Palm was actually an educator giving us a presentation on this topic. And of the 27 students in my class, 23 of those students are women. And I can tell you that almost every one of us raised our hands during our lecture to ask questions about our contraceptives and what they were doing to our bodies. And it truly proved to me in that moment that none of us really know what our birth control is doing to our bodies. And I just knew how important it was that I'm doing this podcast and kind of letting people know what's going on. So I just want to clear that up for everyone who doesn't know. And to ask this question, what is our birth control doing to our bodies? When I asked Kelly Palm this question, and the way that she educated us in class and the way that she says that she educates her patients, is that the pill does three main mechanisms. It suppresses ovulation, which is the phase of the menstrual cycle that involves the release of an egg. So depending on the pill that you have or the birth control in general, it can either completely suppress the ovulation or it can partially suppress it. And another mechanism is that it actually thins the uterine lining. And when you would want to fertilize an egg, you would want your uterine lining to be thicker and more cushiony for the egg so that it can grab onto something and make it easier for it to become fertilized. When your uterine lining is thinner, it makes it harder for the egg to latch on and have a more cushioned area for it to stay and be fertilized. So this is actually also why when people are prescribed the pill for really, really heavy periods, it thins that lining so that when it otherwise would shed during your period, it has less to be shed, and in turn makes your period lighter and potentially less clotty. And fun fact, you actually don't get your quote-unquote period when you're taking the pill. You actually get what's called a withdrawal bleed. And the quote withdrawal bleed happens typically during or after our sugar pill week when we have a very low dose of hormones, or sometimes you have a full week off depending on your pack. And basically it's because of this drop in hormones when you have that week off, and the body releases some of the blood and mucus from the lining of the uterus, but it is not the same as an actual period. And that's also a result from the prevention of the thickening of the lining in your uterus. And the hormones that you're taking also prevent you from ovulating, meaning there is no egg for your body to get rid of. And withdrawal bleeds are typically lighter and they have less pronounced symptoms to withstand your period. So that's just a fun fact and kind of just like a breakdown of like what that means. And lastly, another way that contraceptives help to kind of prevent pregnancy is the thickening of the cervical mucus to help block the sperm from fertilizing the egg. But anyways, now that we kind of have a picture of what the pill does to our physical bodies to help prevent pregnancy, the hormones that we take, the progestin and estrogen, if you do end up taking a combination pill, or if you just take progestin only, they do their own things in terms of prevention. And the progestin is actually more active in terms of ovulation blocking, and the estrogen is actually typically better with regulating our lining to prevent breakthrough bleeding. So now that we know this and what they're doing to our body and how these individual hormones are more effective, we can be better understanding of the differences between the progestin-only pill and the combination pill, which is both. So what are some of the differences between the estrogen and progestin pills versus just the mini pill or the progestin pill? According to reproductiveaccess.org, which I will link below, which is also another great resource if you have questions about your birth control, and it talks about the differences actually between the two. So the pill, the combination pill, you take it daily, and often it causes spotting, which may last for many months, but it can improve PMS symptoms, it can improve acne, it helps prevent cancer of the ovaries. And like I said, this method contains estrogen, so it's unclear if estrogen interacts with your testosterone. They do make that clear, and you can become pregnant right after stopping the pills. So that's true with both of them, and it just makes sense, especially if you can't miss a pill, then if you stop taking it, you're probably going to become pregnant if you're not careful. But it may cause nausea, it can cause weight gain, headaches, your change in sex drive, and some of these can be relieved by changing to a new brand. So those are all just like good things to know. So typically this is prescribed if you are having really bad premenstrual symptoms or if you need to improve your acne. So when we meet my roommates, 2 of my roommates actually are on a combination pill because they started it for acne. So just kind of like 2 things put together. But anyways, so the mini pill, also known as the progestin pill, and just like the other one, you have to take this pill daily. It can make monthly bleeding more regular and less painful, and it can also cause spotting the first few months. So just something to think about. And you can become pregnant right after stopping the pills, just like the other one. It may lower the risk of uterine lining cancer or ovarian cancer and PCOS, and it may cause depression, hair or skin changes, and change in sex drive. So the may cause depression part was my biggest issue with the progestin pill. And it seems to be that it is a known issue with it. So if you feel like you are taking this pill and you know that this could be a cause and you feel a little different, you may feel really sad, then maybe think that, oh, maybe I should switch to the combination pill. Maybe this isn't working for me. Or you could say that this is really making my periods really irregular and this is working great for me. This is not affecting me in any way emotionally, and that can be great too. So just something to think about. But whether or not you're taking your birth control for pregnancy prevention, period cramps, acne, it is super important to comply to taking that pill the same time every day to have its most effective outcome. However, there are some days that I know even I forget to take my pill. Nobody is perfect, believe me. But what happens when I do miss? What should I do about it? And what can I do to miss less pills? Because life gets busy and things happen. Let's say that you do miss a pill. First, let's figure out what kind of pill you're on. If you're on the combination pill and you miss one pill, then you should take it as soon as you remember and then take the rest of your pills like you normally would as scheduled. And this may mean that you have to take 2 pills in one day, but birth control with condoms is not usually necessary until you have missed a pill from your previous pack as well. And in that case, it would be a good idea to have the extra protection. If you miss 2 pills, however, take the most recent pill as soon as you remember, and then continue to take the rest of your scheduled pills as you normally would. And in this case, it is necessary to use backup contraception to protect against pregnancy if that's your goal. And you should use a backup until you have taken a full 7 days of your birth control in a row consistently. And progestin-only pills are actually very time sensitive, I'm learning. I didn't know this when I was taking it, so I was actually very surprised when I learned this. And they have similar rules that if you miss 1 pill, you should take the pill as soon as you remember, even if it means taking 2 in one day. However, if the pill was missed for more than 3 hours past your normal scheduled time, then you need to use a backup contraception until you have taken the pill consecutively for 2 days. So I literally had no idea until actually doing research on that, and I was actually on that pill. So goes to show how much I was educated on that. But it is definitely good to know what pill you are taking and the policies on what to do when you miss your pill. And I'm sure that certain brands have more specific outlines on what to do if you miss a pill or if you miss multiple pills, but this is just the general between the combination and the progestin pill that I found. And also, if you do have to double up in the same day, I would recommend that you take one in the morning and then you take one at night so that you're not taking both at the same time, because I know one time I did that and I felt awful. I was really just had really bad cramps and just had really bad nausea. And I know that my friend Carrie, who we'll meet later, had a very similar issue that when she does take them back to back instead of in the morning at night, if she missed, that she would have like really bad stomach pain. So if that's something that concerns you, then I would suggest that. But that's just me. And from my research, the most common side effect of doubling up is nausea due to the very high level of hormones all at once. So the good news is that some women find that taking their pill with a snack or a meal can kind of reduce this risk. So in case you find yourself in a pickle where you have to double up, maybe think of doing one in the morning, one in the afternoon, maybe taking them with meals. And consider having a snack with them, all that good stuff. And women often generally have nausea when taking the pill for the first 2 to 3 months as well. So doctors recommend taking the pill at night to decrease the amount of nausea you feel during the day. That's what Kelly Palm was kind of saying to me. But if we don't want to miss a pill, and we are, let's say crap, like I keep missing mine. I've missed 3 in a row. What am I doing? Or I miss one this month, I miss one that month, and I want to get better at taking my pill. What are some ways that we can remember to be consistent? I remember reading this article when I first started doing my research, and it stuck to me from the get-go. It's called, quote, Missed Pills, Frequency, Reason, Consequences, and Solution, end quote. It was found that women who do not establish a routine or who do not succeed in taking their oral contraceptives with another daily activity are 4.6 times more likely to miss 2 or more pills per month. And these same women are also 3.3 times more likely to become inconsistent pill users in comparison to those who do not establish a routine. And Natalie Buffett was the author of this study, and she recommends that women should incorporate their pill taking with a routine that they already perform on a daily basis, a daily habitual habit, such as doing their makeup or brushing their teeth or setting an alarm on your phone, writing it on your calendar, using a pill box, downloading apps such as Spot On to send a reminder to you every day at the same time. Those are all great ways to increase our pill compliance as well. It is also discussed that it is important that women are educated on the possible side effects. Like I said, this is what Kelly Palm and I were kind of talking about, that they may encounter when taking their birth controls, so that they are not caught off guard and try to stop taking their pill before their body becomes used to those hormones. But switching gears here just a little bit, I just want to share a recent story that I actually just had. I'm 21 and I just went for my pap smear about a week ago. And my provider, who is amazing, I love him so much, he had a lot of patients that day, and I was finishing up, I was leaving, and he kind of handed me these sheets of paper and said, so this is your breast exam homework, which he showed me how to do and educated me on that, and said to bring my sheet up and check out when I'm all dressed and I'm ready. I was like, great. So I'm looking at the sheets that he gave me, and I'm actually noticing that there is a sheet of paper underneath that said, you should be taking calcium and vitamin D with your birth control. Here are different supplements that you can take. Here are different foods with these vitamins in it. Go figure. So I'm like, what the heck? Like, what is this? And I'm surprised that he actually didn't talk to me about it. I know that he was super busy. And it turns out that my certain pill actually can cause osteoporosis in the mechanism in which that it works, especially with women who are super, super active. And to just be cautious with that, and to take vitamins and all that good stuff in order to replete whatever it's taking from my body. And I didn't know this, actually. And I've been taking this medication for 4 years now. And I was like, what? Like, I haven't been on any sort of vitamin since I've been on this. So that was really weird. And I did my own research for it and everything. But it just really goes to show how important it is to ask questions and to look up what you're taking. And I was actually talking to Kelly about this situation, and she was saying that it actually is really important for women in general of childbearing age to take a multivitamin. And that can actually help with side effects that can be caused from birth control, because a lot of birth controls actually deplete vitamin B12, which can cause fatigue and things like that. So that's also something to think about, maybe looking more into your pill and looking more into your contraception that you're taking to see what vitamins I should be taking. And maybe that's what I'm missing. Maybe I'm depleted in something, and that's why I'm super, super tired all the time. Or maybe I'm anxious because of that, or I'm depressed because of that, or whatever reason. And it's also just good to know, because I feel really good at my pill right now, but I could have bone density issues later on down the road because I didn't know that I was supposed to be taking something to help supplement that. So that's just something to think about. But going back to my interview with Kelly Palm, I just wanted to touch on some of the resources and the things that she provides at Westfield State for her students, because she genuinely is so awesome and is honestly just a rock star when it comes to women's health and just treating her patients in general. And I kind of asked her, I was like, what would you want Westfield State kids or just college-age women in general to know about what you provide? And she was saying that her biggest goal is to just kind of change its perception that they aren't able to do a ton for their students because they're a health services on campus. She was saying that they're all licensed providers and they can order imaging. They can function as PCPs. They're kind of like an in-between between like a PCP and a urgent care. And they do all electronic prescribing. They do STI testing. They do treatment counseling. They can provide pills, and they can do the patch, the ring. They can give depot, and they can counsel actually for long-term IUDs and Nexplanon. And they're actually working with Planned Parenthood right now to set up their students with them to get in long-term reversible contraception. They also are able to set you up if you are unintendedly pregnant, and they can also in office take out your IUDs or your implants if that's something that you would like. So that is something that they can do. And they do require a follow-up if you are starting a new pill through them. They typically do at 1 month, and then 3 months, and then 12 months. And she was saying that obviously, like, no one is being held hostage about this, but they want to have a phone call at least with you to see how the patient is doing. And I think that that is awesome, because genuinely people can fly under the radar and you have no idea how they're doing. And sometimes they do well and sometimes they don't. And I think it's really important that they make it a point that you do check in and say, yeah, this is working for me, or yeah, this isn't. So that's great. And they also, like I said, are working with Planned Parenthood, and not only just for the long-term reversible contraceptive, they are also able to get you on a route with them if you are unintendedly pregnant. They can help you go through them and get care through them, no matter what your choice is on the concept. And Westfield also has counseling rooms that are private to kind of remove this barrier of talking about things like that in front of other people. You have your own room, your own laptop, you're by yourself, and you're able to make appointments, whether it's for STI testing, whether it's for your pill, whether it's for contraception, whether it's for an unintended pregnancy, you're able to use that room for telehealth visits as well. And her closer to that conversation was that she wants students at Westfield to come see the nurses, that they are happy to help you and they are wonderful staff and they will help you go through your options and can prescribe, and they will help you to get what you need. So if you are a Westfield State student listening to this podcast, there are so many resources just at your front door. So please use them. And there are wonderful staff and they're all really understanding. And even if you don't go to this school and you're listening to this podcast, you could maybe use this as a reference and bring it up to the staff at your school and say, hey, we should try doing this. Because I really do think that, especially the counseling rooms, that's a really great idea. And the fact that there are so many options for the women on our campus to get affordable contraception and to also get different routes through different places that maybe you can't get something put in on campus here, but you can find you a place that can. Don't even worry about it. So that's always something to think about. But for the rest of this podcast, I had, at least earlier, had mentioned that I interviewed a couple of my friends. And it's really funny looking back and listening to these because it really is Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And one of my friends is really good at taking her birth control. She's missed one pill in the 6 years that she's been taking it. So you're just right. And my friend Kiara, she is pretty decent at taking her birth control. Sometimes she forgets she's human. So she's kind of in your middle. And then my friend Carrie she cracks me up. She genuinely misses multiple pills every week. And it's funny because after my interview and after I explain my project to her, every time I see her in my nursing class, she goes, oh my God, Bridget, you would be so proud of me. I took all my pills this week and all that good stuff. And it's just really funny to see the impact that this has made on her. But she's just really funny. And I hope that you guys enjoy these interviews because I just genuinely think no better way to see how important it is that I am giving people this information, because even just in these interviews, I'm noticing that like some of my friends don't even know the name of their pills that they're taking. And some of my friends had to switch from an oral contraceptive to a long-term reversible contraceptive because the pill wasn't working for her, but she was able to find that option that is different, but it did end up working for her. And these are real people and real contraceptive journeys that you're going to be able to listen to. And maybe you'll find that you've had a really similar journey as to someone that you hear in this video, or you have a similar issue that someone else had in terms of side effects, or with starting off with the pill and ending up with a long-term reversible contraceptive, or maybe you genuinely don't take it for contraceptive reasons and find that you miss it a lot because you aren't necessarily using it for preventing pregnancy. So just all good things to think about. And I hope that you guys are able to find yourself in some of these stories and get a kick out of them, because some of them are a little silly. But the first interview will be of my roommate, Allie, and we've lived with each other for now 3 years. And this is her story. Okay, so I thought no better way to get information on this kind of a topic than from a current pill user. So I actually have 2 roommates, Allie and Kiara, and they both are on oral contraceptives. And I just decided that I want to interview them and ask them questions to see what their pill journey has been. So Allie is going to be my first interview, and she is the same age as me. We're both 21, and she's also an education major. She's elementary education. But here's Allie. So, hello. But I just have a couple questions. Are you currently taking oral contraceptives, and what brand are you taking?
I am taking oral contraceptives, but I'm not sure what the brand is called.
Okay. So this actually kind of emphasizes why I want to do this podcast, because I feel like a lot of us don't really know what we're taking. I don't know if you kind of feel that.
Yeah, I have no idea what the brand is, and I've just been on it for so long, and I went on it when I was like 15 or 16, so I've just never really looked into it too much.
Right. So is this the only birth control you've ever been on, or
Yeah.
Okay. And why have you stuck with this pill that you're on?
I've never really seen like side effects for it. I went on it for acne actually, and it helped clear up my acne a lot, and so that was like a reason I stuck with it.
Okay.
And I never really saw any other bad side effects with it.
Gotcha. Do you know what hormones are in your pill, if you have a combination pill or solely a progestin pill?
I don't know the medical terms, but it's like a month cycle, and the last like week is like the sugar pills. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think they have like
Okay.
hormones in the sugar pill.
When we figure out Allie's mystery pill, we'll be able to know what hormones are in her birth control here. But as of right now, I would just guess that it's probably a combination pill if they prescribed it for acne. And you said that you haven't had really any symptoms with this birth control. It's never hindered you in your daily life or
No, I mean,
like that?
I think when I first went on it, there was definitely some like anxiety and like there was hormones running through my body.
Yeah.
I've really been there before. So I think when I first went on it, definitely some side effects, but they very quickly went away.
Okay. And what were those side effects? Did you have any like nausea or
No nausea. I feel like
or
I feel like I definitely went through a little depressed stage and some anxiety, but nothing crazy.
yeah, I feel like that was one of the biggest issues for me, at least too, was just like mood swings and anxiety and just kind of like getting used to the hormones aspect of it. But yeah, and in terms of like compliance to it, do you ever feel like you miss a pill or like how frequently you miss a pill in a pack?
No, I'm pretty good with it. I usually take it in the mornings. Not at the same time every morning, but I'm pretty good with it. I take it in the morning and I don't really miss a pill often.
Okay. And do you know your pills policy, like if you did miss a pill?
I think just double up
Okay.
on it. I think I've done that once in my birth control journey.
Wow.
I'm pretty good with it.
That's awesome. And I guess in this one time that you did double up, did you ever have an increase of side effects or feel nauseous or anything like that?
No, but I've heard of people that have had side effects, so I feel like I was anxious all day that I was going to like feel nauseous or whatever, but I never really did. But I definitely was like anxious that I was going to, but I mean, it was fine.
Yeah. And did you use any like backup contraceptives or anything like that?
No.
Okay. And what I know that you said that you take it in the morning, but like, what's your routine? Like, do you use an alarm or like take your pill when you brush your teeth at night or like in the morning, like things like that?
Usually like it's one of the first things I do when I wake up. It sits right on my nightstand and I see it every morning, and I've been on it for several years, so it's kind of just second nature that I take it right when I wake up.
Okay. And then if let's say like you wake up at like a later time than usual, do you take it then as well?
Yeah.
If you have an alarm?
I used to be very good with taking it at the same time, but I've kind of hindered away from that. I'll just take it when I wake up, but I'm kind of an early riser, so I usually take it around the same time. Maybe like an hour or two off, but
and have you ever used like an app, like have you ever heard of Flow?
I have heard of that, but I've never used it.
Yeah. And for people that don't know, Flow is just kind of like a tracking app. It's similar to Spot On, which I talked about earlier in this podcast. And you just kind of can put in your days that you miss a pill or days that you're taking your birth control, and it can also give you updates on like when your period is going to come or if you're ovulating and things like that. So it's a great resource as well. But thank you, Allie, for talking with us. And like I said, Allie is like the poster child for I take it every day in the morning when I wake up. That's my routine. And I have a really good compliance rate because of it. And this was also some of the research that I found that this does increase your ability to take your pill. Having it with a habitual routine, like putting your makeup on or brushing your teeth or putting your slippers on at night, like I said. So that was really cool to be able to see after I had done my research that this is real. It's pretty cool. And then we have my roommate, Kiara. She's a little bit of a goofball. I love her. I've also lived with her for 3 years. And this is her contraceptive journey, her story. Okay, so here's my other roommate, Kiara. She's a psych major with, do you have any minors? Sociology minor. And she is also taking the pill. And do you know the name of your pill?
The Junel birth control.
The Junel, okay.
And have you ever taken any other contraception or pills in the past?
No.
No. So just this brand one. Okay. And why have you stuck with this pill?
Well, I've stuck with it because I don't know if I'm going to mess up my hormones or not if I stop taking it.
Okay. Okay.
And I think that I also was on it for acne and stuff. So.
Okay. And when did you start going on it?
Around 15, I was on.
Wow. Okay. So you're young too. Allie had also started when she was 15 or 16. And have you experienced like any symptoms while you were taking it?
In the beginning, I definitely weight gain and anxiety.
Okay. Yeah. That's something that we also both kind of talked about. Like, I know I had experienced anxiety and mood swings and just like overall like sadness or depression to begin with. But would you say that like after 2 to 3 months that those subsided, or do you kind of feel that it's still a problem?
Now, honestly, I probably wouldn't recognize it because it's been so long, but I honestly think that they've gone away.
Okay. That's actually an interesting answer. So you kind of feel like it could be your baseline right now, and you have like no idea because you haven't gotten off it. I've thought about that before because I've been on it also for so long.
Yeah.
I have switched birth controls, but you kind of don't really remember what your baseline is from switching and being on the same one for so long. So that's an interesting point. Has it hindered your daily life in any way?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. And how frequently do you miss a pill, if you miss a pill?
I miss like a few, maybe a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know your pill's policy if you miss a pill?
Nope.
Like, have you ever? Okay. So I know, at least for my personal pill, I know that it comes with an instruction booklet every month when I get it, and it will tell me what to do with my specific pill if I do miss a pill. And I have a combination pill, which we did look up Kiara's pill before this episode, and we figured out that she also has a combination pill. And for combination pills, it's advised to double up, and it's okay to take the same pill, 2 pills in one day, and then you continue the course, and you don't have to take you don't have to use any extra contraception, as long as you only missed 1 pill. But if you missed a couple, then you have to either double up or wait until, so you have to wait a full 7 days, depending on your pill, but at least I know for mine, it's a full 7 days before I can actually be protected again. And when you do double up, like, do you notice any increasing of side effects or anything like that?
No, I don't think so. When I like double up, I usually I take it at night, so I try to like take one in the morning and then
yeah, just kind of like space it out. Yeah, I feel like I do the same thing. If that ever happens to me, I just know that from my research, I've noticed that a lot of people like experience like nausea if they take them both at the same time, which makes sense. Yeah, I haven't either. But I do know that if that does happen, it's like advised to take both of them at night, which makes sense, so that you're kind of like sleeping through it. And if you did miss a pill, would you use backup contraception or abstinence or anything like that?
Probably not.
No? Okay. At least you're honest, honestly. Like, I mean, yeah. So what is your routine currently when you're taking your contraception?
Well, I take it at night, usually around like 9 at night, but it depends. Sometimes I just take it when I'm usually going to bed.
Yeah. And do you use like an alarm at all?
Yeah, I use like a pill reminder app.
Oh, okay. Which one do you use?
Pill reminder.
Oh, well. I'm gonna be honest, I've never heard of that. I'll have to look into that.
It says take a pill now.
Oh. Well, that's awesome. Have you ever heard of I'm sorry. Have you ever heard of the Flow app? Or like that? Yeah, okay. So that was the one that like when I was on the Nexplanon, the implant I used just to track like my periods if I had breakthrough bleeding or if I missed a pill, things like that. So I'm familiar with that one. But pill reminder sounds pretty self-explanatory.
That stresses me out a little bit more because it tells me.
Yeah.
I think the other one's just.
Yeah, it just kind of just lets you know. Okay,
yeah.
Good to know. And do you take it with like any habitual daily routines, like brushing your teeth at night or taking off your slippers at night before you get into bed, anything like that?
No.
Okay.
I usually, whenever I see it, I just kind of like, oh, I need to take it out.
Okay. Good to know. And that's really all I have for Kiara here. So
like I said, there's nothing better than listening to somebody else, my age, our age, talking about this and having a real life experience, because we're not alone in this. And there's so many different ways that people take their contraception and different types of contraception that people take. And it's just good to hear other people's journeys. So, yeah. And like I said, Kiara is my in-betweener. She is pretty good at taking her pill, but she definitely could have better compliance, and she doesn't really take it with a habitual routine, which this is exactly what that study had showed me, that research, that people that don't typically have a habitual routine don't typically do as well. But she does use a pill reminder app. So that, I feel like, has been saving her in the fact that it's reminding her in some way that it's, one, out on her desk and she can see it, and then two, she has that pill reminder app helping her to remember to take it. And then the last one of my friends that is taking an oral contraceptive currently right now is Carrie. And Carrie has been a friend of mine since freshman year. We started playing volleyball together, and we are also in the same nursing class. So we spend a lot of time together. And she was very honest in this interview, and God love her, but she is not great at taking her birth control. And she will be the first one to tell you that as well. But we'll kind of debrief more about this after you guys listen to her interview. But here is Carrie's story. I just wanted to ask you, are you currently taking oral contraceptives? And like, what are you taking if you are?
I am currently taking oral contraceptives. I am taking the Norgestimate pill with both, like the dual pill.
Okay, so the combination pill.
Yes.
Gotcha. And have you ever taken another brand other than this one that you're taking?
No, I've taken the same one. I think like the packaging has changed, but it's always been the same.
The same brand. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And why have you stuck with this current pill?
I've had no issues with this pill. It works for me. I haven't had any like crazy symptoms with it, and I just always say, like, if it's not broke, then don't fix it.
Right. And did you ever have any symptoms when you first started, like in the first 2 to 3 months or anything like that?
The only thing that I've really noticed is weight gain.
Okay.
I did gain, it was about 20 pounds from within like 3 to 4 months after I started taking it. I'd say like my boobs got bigger and I just gained, it was like 15 to 20 pounds.
Yeah. Okay.
But other than that, I've had no other symptoms.
And do you remember how old you were when you first started birth control?
I was 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you originally go on it? Do you remember?
I originally started because I had really bad cramps.
Okay.
I remember like not being able to like do certain things, like, and I would talk to my friends and theirs, like, they weren't having the same experience with me, so I knew that it wasn't normal. Like, what I was feeling was like different. So I talked to my mom about it, and she was like, we'll make an appointment. And
right. So the pill was actually a super helpful thing for you, and it was...
Yes. Yeah, the cramps got much better.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I barely feel them. They used to be like in the front and the back.
Yeah, just like debilitating, can't really do your daily activities kind of thing.
Yeah, and I would cramp for like 2 days before the like 4 or 5 days that I was on my period, and 2 days after.
Yep.
So it was a long time.
So that's awesome that has helped you in that aspect. And in terms of compliance, how frequently would you say that you miss a pill?
I am not the best at taking my pills.
I'm giggling because I know Carrie's answer.
I would say that I take 2 pills at a time more frequently than I take 1. I'm constantly playing catch up. I'm not great at taking 1 a day.
Okay.
But I've never noticed any symptoms.
Okay, or side effects or anything from double up?
No.
Yeah.
One time I took 3 and I felt nauseous and I threw up, and I will never do that again.
Yeah. Yep, that'll happen. But do you know your pill's policy if you miss a pill? Have you ever like looked into that or looked into the instructions on your pack?
I have not.
No? Okay. We can do that after this, but I just know that combination pills, typically if you miss 1 pill, you have to double up that day, and then you have to continue taking your regimen as prescribed, but you don't have to do a backup contraception. But if you do miss more than one pill in a pack, then you have to either double up and get caught up in your pack, and then you also have to use contraception, like backup contraception, so condoms or anything like that. And do you use any backup contraception?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you use?
Always. Condoms. Whenever, and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Without.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with missing like 5 pills a pack, Carrie.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I definitely got lucky with like my partner situation, because he also is very like, has like strong feelings about being protected every single time, because
and that's super important.
Yeah, because like for him, that's all he has, because he doesn't have a pill. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
and in taking your pill, what is your routine? Like, do you take it in the morning or at night, or do you just kind of take it whenever?
I take it whenever I remember.
Okay. And do you have any alarms, or do you take it with like a habitual habit or anything like that? No. Okay.
No, when I find myself missing a lot, I will put it in plain sight. So right now it's out on my desk right next to my alarm. So usually I will be taking it in the morning because I see it.
Right. Okay. And for anyone listening right now, Carrie did just catch up with with her pills about 5 minutes ago. She said, "Oh, I think I'm finally caught up though." Looks at her pack and realizes that she needed to take one at the moment. To put you in perspective.
So I'm caught up.
But she's caught up. That's the moral of the story. So have you ever used an app like Flow or Spot On? Have you ever heard of those?
I've heard of them, but I've never used them.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very regular. I was always regular. I never, like, I did not originally start taking birth control for like regularity of my periods. I was every 28 days, knew exactly what to expect. And that has been the same. My period just looks different now, but it's still like textbook. And I know it's supposed to help with that, but
right.
I always knew when. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all that I have for you, Carrie. Thank you so much for answering my questions.
Thank you for having me.
And so you can kind of see that Carrie is on the very opposite end of the spectrum here. She does not have a habitual routine taking her birth control. She doesn't take it at the same time every day. She doesn't use a pill reminder app. She kind of just like takes it when she sees it, which can be big reasons why she's having such a hard time with her compliance. But Carrie is very open in the fact that she doesn't really use her contraceptive for the intention of preventing pregnancy. She also uses condoms and uses backup contraceptives because she knows she's not well protected on her pill. She really only takes it because of her cramps. And she finds that even when she does take 2 a day or misses every other day or does what works for her, that she's still getting the therapeutic effect of not getting her period as bad, as heavy, as crampy. So it's working for her, but it's funny because every time I see her now in class, she's like, "Oh my God, I thought of you last night. My pills are out on my table. I take it when I brush my teeth. I'm really good about taking it. I keep thinking about you every time I see it." So that just makes me laugh, the impact that this project and her interview had on her. And then lastly, I want to introduce Carly. So Carly is a friend of mine. She lives with Carrie, and she is a classic example of starting to take something, not being able to take it, trying out new things, and then ending up on something else. So here is Carly's story and her journey. Okay, so I'm here with Carly right now. She's one of my good friends. She is a secondary math education major, and I just want to ask her a couple questions about the pills that she's been taking or that she has taken in the past, and just kind of give more information on what we're taking. So are you currently on the pill right now?
I am not currently on the pill. I have the Mirena IUD, but I was on 3 different pills in the past.
Okay. And do you remember what kind of pills that you were on?
The first one was Sprintac. The second one was Junel. And then the third one was a progestin only one. I don't remember the name of it, but I was only on that one for like less than a month.
Okay. And the first two were combination pills?
Yes. Yeah. The first one I was on for 3 months. The second one, 1.5 years.
Okay. Yeah. I actually had never heard of Junelle until Kiara actually really takes that one. So, but what were your issues with those that you had to switch to?
So the first one, Spring Tech, I was on that for 3 months after like the first or second month. So my period was never regular on that one either. And then I was just sad. Like every night I would just bawl my eyes out for no reason. And I didn't know why. And then I put 2 and 2 together that it was that. And when I told my doctor, they were like switching you immediately. Like, not good.
Right.
So yeah, it was very weird.
And was it the same thing with Junelle?
So once I was on Junelle, my periods got regular on that. It was much better. Like I barely bled, minimal cramps. I felt fine, but then I had a migraine. So all of a sudden one morning I was getting ready for school and my whole vision went blurry. And I felt like I was going to pass out. All of a sudden I got the worst headache and I threw up. So
yeah, that's really scary.
Yeah. So my mom called the doctor because I was in high school at the time. She didn't know what was wrong with me. And so when I went in, they told me I had to stop taking it and I couldn't take estrogen because I had no history of migraines before.
Is that the Aura with Aura? Because
it was migraine with Aura.
Yeah. So my roommate actually has, Michaela, has the same thing. And she also could only take progestin because of it. Because estrogen can cause the migraines with Aura. And it's funny because I actually had a very similar experience, but the opposite, where I can't tolerate progestin and I can only tolerate the combination. So it just really goes to show that we shouldn't have to deal with having these really harsh symptoms, that there are always so many other options that you can deal with. So it's good that you called your doctor and changed that. And you said that you were really like sad and depressed. So would you say that it kind of hindered the way that you were living your life when you were on those pills?
The first one, definitely. The second one, no. But yeah, the first one, I was just sad.
Okay. And then when you did take the pill, do you remember if you frequently missed it or not, or if you're really good about taking it?
I was really good. I never missed it. I had a reminder on my phone every night and it was right next to my bed. And I was always good about taking it every night.
Okay. And did you ever use like the Flow app or Spot On or anything like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I still use Flow. I've used it since high school. I've always tracked.
And you like it?
I love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good to know. That's all I have for questions for you. But it was good to hear a different perspective because in my last couple of interviews, it's come to find out that a lot of the women that are first starting their birth control, they're doing really well on it, or they actually don't know if it's changed their baseline because they've been on it for so long. So it's interesting to hear you now talk about it and say, I actually had changed my whole perspective on it, went the IUD route and actually kind of jumped around a couple times to figure out something that worked for me. So really goes to show that you don't have to settle and that you can find something that makes you feel good and that something that works for you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thanks, Carly.
You're welcome.
So Carly had a very similar experience to me of trying something out for the first time, it really not working out, just being sad all the time, like randomly crying, being really emotional label, like just weird things that weren't normal to you. Trying something else, and that also didn't work for her. So then she tried something else, and it ended up not being a pill. It actually ended up being a long-term reversible contraception, her IUD, which she really likes now. So sometimes it takes trial and error, which can be kind of frustrating. I totally understand, but it can end in a positive way. You can end up on something that you like. So it really is important to keep asking questions, to keep doing your research, and to keep trying, because Carly is a classic example of trying out a few different things and then finally ending up with something that is long-term for her, a really good option. So if maybe you don't win the lottery the first time, like how Allie and Kiara and Carrie all are on the same pill as when they first started, you could have the same journey as like Carly and I, where we had to kind of try other things out and knowing what our options and our resources are. And I hope that this podcast was able to give you the information that you need in order to make those decisions. And if you do have any questions, or if you do want to look at the information, like please look at the description below and look at the links and take a peek on what you have for these options and just more information that maybe even I wasn't able to get to in this podcast. But I hope that you guys were able to relate to some of the things being said during these interviews, whether you had a very similar experience or maybe you're on the same birth control as one of my roommates or one of my friends being interviewed. And I hope that it kind of breaks the stigma of people not really wanting to talk about their contraception because maybe, it has to do with preventing pregnancy, which can mean sex, which can mean this whole taboo stigma around sex and all that stuff. So I really just want to break that and have conversations with people and allow people to ask questions and to kind of talk about their journey, because sometimes you don't even realize what you've been through unless you talk to somebody about it and you're like, oh wow, like I've been through that same thing. Like that's so weird. And that we haven't talked about this. Like when Carly and I had that conversation, I had actually no idea that she had a very similar situation for me. She was just kind of on the opposite ends of the hormonal spectrum, but we both had a very similar experience and we kind of bonded over that when I actually asked these questions. So that was kind of cool for the both of us to have that conversation. But my whole point of doing the interviews was just so that it could be two girls just kind of chit-chatting about what they're taking and just having a good time talking about it and getting off our chest what we've been through. So I hope that these really raw conversations were able to help you guys in some way and educate you guys in seeing that this research that I have done really does work when people do take their pill with habitual routines, and if they take it in the morning or at night, or if they use a pill reminder app. Like Allie is a classic example of doing all of those things and having it work. And then my two friends, that one of them did half of that and she kind of half takes her pill, and then my other friend doesn't do any of it and she's really not the best at taking her pill on time and when she should be taking it. So I hope that you guys are able to see that and see how it directly affects people and their compliance. And I have to say, it was honestly pretty cool for myself, having done this research I've been doing this project for an entire year. I've started in the fall and I'm ending in the spring right now. And to see all this information in this research directly correlating to my friends and their compliance was really cool for me, at least. But anyways, I am going to be wrapping this podcast up. So I hope that you guys enjoyed and that I was able to kind of supplement some education here, maybe things that you may or may not have known in terms of compliance and side effects and the history of contraception. And I hope that I see you guys in my next podcast episode. If you're interested, we're going to be talking about the cost of contraception and how we can get low cost or really affordable birth control, and how the cost of birth control can affect people and their compliance. So if you're interested in any of that,